Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to release the latest version of my Fallout New Vegas mod, Advanced Recon Thermal Night Vision. That's going to be version 4 and it's a reasonably major update. Now I'm going to be making a full video discussing the functionality this mod now has, but I thought I would do a more concise video for people who already know what the mod does and are wondering what has changed, why I'm now releasing a new version after all this time. The major change is I've merged in 5 other mods into this one. I've merged in the Advanced Recon Trap Detection mod, the Rangefinder mod, and the 2 mods that add the night vision functionality to the Desert Ranger helmet and the Riot Gear helmets, and the Cyborg Thermal and Night Vision implant mod that gives you a perk that adds an actual cybernetic implant with said night vision. That's 6 mods all rolled into one. 6 times the functionality, but a lot less plugins. Don't worry if you don't feel you need all of that functionality, you can switch most of it on and off through the mod configuration menu. The second change of note is this mod is now Tale of Two Wastelands ready right out of the box. The main file that adds thermal night vision to things like power armor will now detect if you have Tale of Two Wastelands installed and add the functionality to the Capital Wasteland items as well. If you also want to use the file that adds various new items to the game with different functionality from night vision to the trap detection, there is a Tale of Two Wastelands patch that adds the items to the Capital Wasteland as well. In-game, you will notice that the mod configuration menu has been expanded and reorganized, and the various functionality now has its own little subsection. So for example, the night vision and thermal page will let you tweak all of the settings for that. I've added a few new options. For example, the low light steps on the night vision can now actually be altered and indeed even switched off. If you don't want low light night vision, that's the full color night vision, you can actually turn it off in the mod configuration menu. You still have control over how many night vision green steps you have, etc. The Detect Traps functionality can now be added to the target acquisition computer from the mod configuration menu. When you first install the mod, the rangefinder functionality will be switched off. You have to go along to the mod configuration menu and enable it. This functionality now requires JIP NVSE plugin. This is a hard requirement for this functionality. If you don't use that plugin, this page will give you a warning and tell you that you can't use it. Honestly, I don't know why anybody would not run that plugin now. It's pretty much a requirement for many things, and the reason the rangefinder now requires that is it allowed me to rip out about 90% of the code for that mod, and it made the behavior of the mod so much, well, quicker, so much more reliable. So it was a bit of a no-brainer switching to that plugin. It is now a hard requirement for that functionality. You also now have the option to turn off the smoothness when you look down the scope and it finds the distance. It, by default, will take, I don't know, maybe half a second to zoom in. It doesn't have any visual effect. It essentially means as you're looking around and you look away, it takes a fraction of a second for the optics to focus in. You can switch that off and then you will get sort of instantaneous distance reading. I like that slight softness. It's kind of useful, but overall, let's face it, you don't switch the rangefinder on to be useful anyway. It's just a bit of coolness. There is also a new section for perks in the MCM, but this section once again does require the JIP NVSE plugin. If you don't have this, I'm afraid the perks will be the ones that come set by default, which is the Advanced Recon Sensors perk, the Detect Traps perk, and the Pip-Boy Tac perks. These 3 perks will be available to you at certain levels if you meet the requirements and will give you the various functionality. So for example, the Advanced Recon Sensors perk will improve the target acquisition computer so that you can target cloaked enemies, for example, and you will even be able to see them through walls. It gives you a sort of X-ray vision. If you've seen the main videos discussing the functionality, you know what I'm talking about. Detect traps, very, very basic perk, does exactly what it says. It will highlight traps if you are sneaking. And the Pip-Boy tack, that is a new perk. That is a perk that you can take if you have enough science skill that will allow you to program your Pip-Boy to behave like a target acquisition computer. You don't need to find one, basically. The Cyborg Eye Implant perk is off by default, so again, you are going to need to enable this if you want it, and for those of you who don't know what that functionality is, it essentially just adds a cybernetic eye implant. You can see it on your face and it will give you night vision, thermal vision, etc. You can enable this eye implant perk and take it at a certain level. I can't quite remember which level it was, but you can now change the body slot that it will appear in. By default, it appears in the eye socket, which makes sense, and this will prevent you from using any headgear that uses the eyes slot, so glasses, helmets with face plates, masks, etc. You can change this to body add-on 3. The implant will still appear in your eye, but it won't prevent you from wearing those eye items. I'm not totally sure why you would want this implant if you're going to cover it. It's kind of there to look cool anyway. If all you want is the night vision and thermal behavior, but you don't want the implant, you can choose none, and this will be a sort of a hidden implant inside your eye. Maybe the eye itself has been replaced, but it looks like a normal human eye. You can now control all of this from the mod configuration menu. And that does bring up another semi-hard requirement. I do realise that came across as a bit rude. It is a soft requirement still, the MCM, but I have not updated the old menu, the one that used to use the settings items in your Pip-Boy. I have not updated it. So if you don't install MCM, even though you will still get that option, you will still get those menu items, the menu is the old menu and it doesn't cover any of the new functionality whatsoever. So I've got to say, mod configuration menu, I am now considering a hard requirement for this mod. Again, it's one of those mods I cannot imagine people playing this game without, so honestly, install JIP's NVSE plugin and MCN if you want to use this mod. The mod still integrates automatically with the immersive HUD functionality of one HUD, allowing you to decide when the heads-up display icons appear. You can set it to always on, for example, and then when you use the night vision, you can see which level you're using and how much power you've got, etc. And that's most of the important stuff. There are a few other minor changes. For example, I did change the models for the objects if you drop them on the ground. For those of you that don't know, there's a different model when you drop an item than when it's on your body, for example. And I've replaced the ones I was using, which were terrible, with ones that are only slightly terrible. They're basically normal vanilla in-game items that I've sort of smushed together a little bit and said to myself, yes, that looks vaguely like the actual item. I'll use that for now. I do plan on actually making some decent ground objects. It's probably not that important. There's very few of these items in world, you know, they're quite hard to find, and usually you're probably not going to drop them once you've found them. But I want to improve that anyway, so that's probably going to come. And there are a few other things that I've tweaked here and there. If you want to get early access to the mod before I upload it to Nexus, you can join the Discord server. There is a channel there just devoted to testing of the mods that I'm working on right now and download, not pages, channels for the various files if you want to try it out. Otherwise, just wait until I upload it and you can give me some feedback there. What I will say is, If you have a current game using the mods, I probably would not recommend updating. In fact, it won't update automatically, as in if you just switch the mods over, you will lose all of the items that you had. So you'll have to get them again anyway, and I've no idea what damage that could do to your save. It can't be good, is what I'm saying. So I would generally say use this mod, not necessarily on a new game, but on a game that's not had the old version. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble on. I'm going to get started on a full functionality video that goes through every single aspect of the mod and the various different options. That is obviously going to be long and in depth, and for a lot of you who've used the mods before, is going to be going over information you just know. So you can probably skip that one if you want. Hope you enjoyed the updated version of the mod, and I look forward to seeing your feedback in the post section on the mod page.
Yippee-yay!